Sometimes on your score you will see that there is a line that connects two notes. There are two types of these kind of lines. One is called slur and the other one is tie. The one called slur connects two different notes at different pitch. And that means that you're going to connect these two notes as smoothly as possible without having any attack or articulation between them. When you have two notes on the same pitch, however, that means that you're going to sum the value of those two notes. That is called a tie. That happens because sometimes you might have notes that are longer than your bar. So the tie essentially sums the value of the two notes, but they need to be on the same pitch, like in this example. As you can see, these two are different notes. This is a G and this is a B. While in this other case, both notes are Gs. Now this one is a G lasting for 2 beats because that's a minim, and that is a G lasting 1. The tie connecting them means that you're going to sum these two. So essentially, you're going to play a G for 3 beats. We talked about the value of the notes, but you notice that we have a 4 beats long, we have a 2 beats long, a 1 beat long, and a half. There's a number of different values in the middle that we didn't address yet. The way we do that in music is using dotted values. When you have a dot next to a note or a rest, regardless of its length, you're gonna extend the value of the note by 50%. Like in this example, remember how we talked about the semi-breve being worth 4 beats? When you add the dot next to it, you're going to add half of its value. So half of 4 is 2, which means 4 plus 2 equals 6. In fact, the semi-breve with the dot next to it is exactly the same length as the semi-breve connected to a minim. The same thing is true for the minim. Now we know that the minim is worth 2 beats. When you put a dot next to it, you add 50% of its value, so half of its length. So half of 2 is 1, and that means that 2 plus 1 equals 3. So the dotted minim is exactly the same as a minim tied to a crotchet. Exactly the same concept applies to the crotchet. Crotchet is worth 1. A dotted crotchet is worth 1.5. So the dotted crotchet is equal to a crotchet tied together to a quaver. Exactly the same concept is applied to the quaver. A quaver is worth a half a beat, which means that with a dot next to it, you add the semi-quaver. As you can see, dotted quaver is equal to a quaver tied to a semi-quaver. Until now, we talked about values only connected to notes, but sometimes in music you have rests, and rests are moments in which you don't actually play. Even when you're not playing, your beat is still going, and that means that when whatever empty space you have is going to have to be defined according to the beat anyway. And that's why we have different rests. Exactly like we have different values with notes, we have different rests. So the rest version of the semi-breve looks like this. The rest value lasting 2 beats, so the minim rest, looks like this. Now notice that they're quite similar. The rest value lasting as long as a crotchet looks like this. And here's the quaver one. If you get confused between these two, the semi-breve and the minim rest, remember that the one hanging from the line, it's heavier and therefore 4 beats long. The one sitting on the line, lighter, lasts 2. So once again, semi-breve or whole note looks like this. Minim or half note looks like this. crotchet or quarter note looks like this. Quaver or eighth note looks like this. Now let's talk about accidentals. We have the sharp, we have the flat, and then we have the natural. The natural means that if the note is supposed to be flat or sharp, it goes back to being natural. So those three signs, flat, sharp, and naturals, are called accidentals. There are some rules about how we handle accidentals. Now the sharp sign means that that note is going to stay sharp for the whole duration of the bar. The natural sign that you see in the following bar also lasts for the whole duration of the bar. Similarly, when you're dealing with a flat, the flat is going to stay on for the whole duration of the bar. That means that this F at the end of the bar is also sharp. It also means that this B that happens at the end of the bar is also natural. And also this B flat happening at the end of the bar stays flat. However, sometimes it can get a little complicated. For example, in this case, because the note is tied together, the F sharp is tied together, it means that the whole note is going to be sharp. So essentially this note here is also F sharp, just because they're tied together. If the tie wasn't there, there would be an F natural. And that is why the following F is natural. Now, most of the time, your score will naturally show this sign in brackets, just to remind you, because everyone understands that it's quite confusing. But in this case, even if there was no sign next to it, this note is F natural. You can also see at the beginning of your line that next to the clef, you have two flats. That is called key signature. And that is telling you that until this changes, every B and every E is going to be flat. So let's go to the last bar that we just saw there. Why is there a B flat there? The B flat is there just as a reminder, because a second before you had a B natural. So whenever your B is already flat and you see it on your score, it's just a reminder that the B is flat. In this case, the second note immediately after is also flat, and that means that it's flat only for the duration of this bar. Like in this case, the A flat is also flat there. When you have a scale in front of you, the first note, also called the tonic, is what we call the first degree. It's the note that gives the name to the scale. And then we have a second degree, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then we have the octave. Now, because the octave is also a C, it goes back to being the first degree in the following octave. So the scale keeps going up and up and up. So if C is your first degree, it is always your first degree, regardless of the octave you're talking about. Notice that this happens in any other key. In this scale, D major scale, we still have first degree, second degree, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and octave, also called first degree of the following octave.